When she told me, her voice was calm, too calm. We were sitting at the edge of the bed, a suitcase half-packed between us, shirts folded neatly in rows that looked like order but felt like chaos. "I invited my ex-lover to our family vacation," she said. "If you loved me, you'd understand." I remember staring at the cotton of her blouse rather than her eyes. That sentence hung in the room like smoke, heavy, suffocating. "I do understand," I replied softly. The pause caught her attention, but she let it pass, mistaking it for surrender. She smiled faintly, pressed her palm against my cheek, and returned to folding her dresses. But I wasn't surrendering. Later that night, when she slept beside me, breathing steady and serene as if her confession had been no more scandalous than choosing the wrong brand of wine, I lay awake with a restless heart. My mind replayed her words over and over, like a cruel echo. Understand, understand, understand. I picked up my phone, the screen glaring against the dark, and searched for his wife. It wasn't difficult. Social media is merciless. She was there, smiling with her children, a woman who probably believed in loyalty, in family, in the sanctity of shared promises. My thumb hovered for a long time before I typed out the message. "He's been invited to a vacation with us. Would you like to come as my plus one?" I hit send. The act felt like rebellion, like a thread snapping inside me. She replied the next morning, not with shock or anger, but with curiosity, then with interest, then with agreement. And that's how it began. When we arrived at the resort, the sea stretched endlessly blue, the horizon unbroken. The air was salted, the laughter of children on the beach carefree, but beneath the sunlit surface ran an undercurrent of tension. My wife greeted him as if no time had passed, her eyes flickering with nostalgia disguised as politeness. I greeted his wife with a warmth that startled even me. She was nothing like I imagined. Her voice was soft, but carried steel beneath it. Her eyes studied everything. Him, my wife, me, with the sharpness of someone who had already been broken once and vowed never to be blindsided again. The four of us shared dinners at first night, wine glasses clinking, forced laughter echoing across the polished restaurant. My wife touched her ex-lover's arm too often, leaned in too close when she spoke, and his wife watched it all in silence, her jaw tight, her hand tightening around the stem of her glass. Later, when we slipped away under the guise of a walk by the shore, she let out a bitter laugh. "So this is what they wanted," she murmured. "And we're just supposed to understand." I said, the salt wind cutting at my throat. She stopped walking, looked at me long and hard, and in her gaze I saw my own loneliness mirrored back. The days unfolded with cruel symmetry. They were reckless, flaunting their history in small gestures. She wore the dress he once loved. He remembered her favorite drink. They slipped into nostalgia like addicts relapsing. And yet, in the shadow of the betrayal, something unexpected bloomed. His wife and I began to find solace in each other's company. At first, it was just conversations whispered in the dark corners of the resort lobby, quiet walks at sunrise while the others slept. We spoke about the sharp sting of betrayal, the humiliation of being treated as afterthoughts, the ache of still loving someone who no longer valued you. Her laugh, surprising, rich, broke through the bitterness that had taken root in me. One evening, when the sky was bleeding pink and gold into the ocean, she reached for my hand without thinking. Her fingers trembled, but they clung to mine as though she had been waiting for that touch. And I didn't let go. The first kiss was an accident, and not an accident at all. We were in the small balcony of her room, the sound of waves below, the scent of salt and wine heavy in the air. She was crying, quietly, desperately, because she had seen them together, laughing like teenagers, her husband brushing a strand of hair from my wife's face. "I can't stand it," she whispered, her voice breaking. And I cupped her face before I even knew what I was doing. The kiss tasted of salt and sorrow, a drowning man finding air. It was wrong, and yet it was the only thing that felt right. From that moment, the world shifted. We became conspirators in silence, carving out stolen moments when their laughter became unbearable. A hand grazing mine under the table, a brush of her shoulder as we passed in the hallway. The electricity was undeniable, dangerous. But it wasn't only physical. It was the way she understood the hollow ache in my chest without me needing to explain. It was the way she saw me, not as a husband to be tested or replaced, but as a man worthy of being chosen. The intimacy deepened, a quiet rebellion against the cruelty of the ones who claimed to love us. One night, unable to bear the charade any longer, we escaped. We walked far down the beach, past the lights of the resort, until the darkness wrapped around us like a secret. The sand was cool beneath our feet, the ocean a rhythm in the background. "I don't know how to go back from this," she confessed, her voice trembling. "To pretend, to forgive, to watch him love someone else while I stand by his side." Her words cracked something open in me. "Maybe we're not meant to go back," I said. She looked at me then, her eyes wide, vulnerable, hopeful in spite of the pain. I pulled her close, and we kissed again, no longer tentative but hungry, desperate. Our bodies pressed together. Heat against heat, grief giving way to desire. We surrendered to it there on the sand. The world narrowing to only the two of us. Every touch rewriting betrayal into something that belonged only to us. The morning after, everything looked the same. The ocean still glittered. Children still built castles of sand. My wife still smiled too brightly at her ex-lover. But nothing was the same. I carried her scent on my skin, her whispers in my ears. And when I glanced across the breakfast table and met her eyes, the quiet fire between us said more than words ever could. We had both been broken open. And somehow, in the wreckage, we found each other. The irony wasn't lost on me. My wife had asked for understanding, and I had given it, just not in the way she imagined, because I do understand. I understand betrayal and loneliness, and the cruel way love can be twisted into a weapon. I understand the sharpness of loss and the sweetness of finding someone who sees you again. And as I watched my wife laugh at her ex-lover's joke, oblivious to the storm she had unleashed, I reached under the table, found her hand, his wife's hand, and held it tightly. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like a victim. I felt chosen. And in that choice, we began to rewrite what love meant for us.